And hello everyone, this is Ali Azzuddin from 4th Generation for Education, our special day around positive discipline, and this is session number 5. In this session, Izumi, we have people joining us from Asia, different countries in Asia. We have people in South America. I would say good morning to our people in South America. Let's say hello to Pushpa in Muscat. We have some people watching us from Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And many of our attendees, Izumi, they are teachers. And I asked also in this session, how old is your children? And then we are getting 43% of the attendees, they said 5 to 8 years old, and 43 of our attendees, they said 9 to 12 years old. So let's give it a start. Are you worried about your child's use of technology? Izumi will be sharing with us some tips and hints from a positive discipline perspective. Let's give it a start for another 1 hour discussion online via Zoom and via Facebook. Izumi, welcome.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very, very happy to be with you and to be connected with technology with all of you. This is also the good part of technology, so we're not going to put everything in the basket. But today I'd like to share with you a little bit on how we can find solutions. And of course, there are also good things about technology, and so acknowledge that together. So before doing that, I'm going to tell you a little bit myself. It's going to be very short. So I live in Geneva, Switzerland, the French part of Switzerland, and I'm Japanese of origin, as my name probably says to you. I live with a screenager. In fact, I live with 2 screenagers, my husband and my son. Right. Yep. And I'm also a screenager, by the way. Now I'm becoming one, with all these things happening. And I have 2 turtles. They're not screenagers, not yet. 245 fish and a hedgehog. So that's my life here in Geneva. Prior to being a positive discipline trainer, I worked for 20 years as an international HR consultant and trainer, and I fell in love with positive discipline because it helped so much in my life, like many other trainers probably told you. And so since 2016, I'm a full-time positive discipline trainer at ipositivelink.com, which is my website. So you're welcome to go and have a look at it. I train in French and in English, so the website is bilingual if ever you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. So that's me. So just to start, I don't know whether all of you have been sitting all day in front of the screen or not, but let's take a deep breath right now. If you don't mind, I'm going to do the same thing, just to be connected together. Let's do it 3 times. And I love doing this, which Joy showed me. So thank you, Joy. I don't know whether I think she's Christmas shopping right now because she went, she did her presentation before. So let's just do a quick rainbow breathing. Is that everything ready? It's very easy. You're just going to do this with me, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So you breathe in, and you breathe out. And 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 one more time. Breathe in and breathe out. This is what I call also a brain break, which is quite important to do if ever you've been on the screen for a long time. So let's get started. So at various times, we will ask you to pause and reflect. And you can, of course, use the chat feature to interact and to participate so that we all feel connected. We can all start reading that. And also, thank you for Ali. He's going to be helping me out to read the chats. So thank you for that.
And let me tell them, Izumi, that for the people who are watching on Facebook, yes, they can interact with us. And I'm keeping an eye on the Facebook chat. And that's why I will be looking down. And then in the chat of the Zoom, please click all panelists and attendees. And Izumi, if you want also to write anything, make sure you selected all panelists and attendees, because I think your first message, the welcome went only to me.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, so in French, if your Zoom is a French version, tous les conférenciers et les participants.
Exactement, c'est en français. Very good. So I was a bit nervous before starting, because I'm not used to not seeing people, but I can see Ali. So thank you for smiling and for supporting me. I really feel better. So I'd like to start with the first question so that I sort of understand what your concerns are about with technology. So if you're okay, I'm going to ask you to, oh yeah, first of all, before that, objectives. In fact, I decided to write my objectives because then you know where I'm going towards. So my objective for this session, for this hour session with you, is to share with you at least 3 positive discipline tools and concepts adapted to screenagers. And by the way, when I say screenagers, it's adults and children, right? And have some discussion time together and share ideas about how you can deal with tech in the family and make peace with technology as well, because I think we're all a bit worried these days about it, which is normal. Same thing, same boat. So before we just get going and reflecting on what our concerns are, I'd like you to write in your chat box the challenges that you currently have with your children, with yourself, on technology, on the use of technology. Just let's read that together. Let's go through that together.
So what are your challenges regarding the topic of today? And they won't stop when I ask them to stop. And I'm facing the same problem with my daughter, Izumi. She's 5 years old. And then whenever we say it's the time to finish from the iPad, because we created that time for her, like she wants 5 more extra minutes. And then everyone in the chat is saying the same. Lack of sleep because of the mobile use, excessive time spent on it. We're taking more time than required. And then I think COVID added more time because with the lockdown, everyone now is on a mobile phone. Laureen is saying they are not interested in studying and they get impatient. Even sometimes they have this tantrum and they get aggressive. So let's see, on Facebook, they started interacting with us. Riham is just giving an advice, limit the screen time as much as possible. It can be a challenge, like how to limit the screen time.
Absolutely.
Rafida is saying they have less focus on other things and then they are becoming lazy. These are some of the challenges.
Yep, I can see that. And by the way, I have all of them as well. So I think we're all on the same boat. Technology is a very recent thing. I'm not born with technology, in fact, in this way. My son is, most likely. So we're all learning how to deal with it. And I'm not sure anybody has really mastered it yet fully. And what is interesting is I've been reading a lot of books on experts, pediatricians, who are sharing about how to deal with technology with children and how to live with it, because we have to live with it. We have really no choice. So when we read all these challenges, how do you feel and what do you think? What are your thoughts about this? How does it feel? Now, this is the kind of question that we all ask during positive discipline classes. I don't know whether you followed other conferences, but this is a recurring question. So I'm going to ask as well throughout this conference, how do you feel? And what are your thoughts when you read all these chats about all these concerns? If you could write that on the chat box, just let me think. Yeah, feels hopeless. Yes.
It feels hopeless sometimes. I feel helpless. It's discouraging. I'm discouraged. And then so I would say, like, I feel connected because we are sharing the same challenges and we are sharing the same problems as educator or as parents. Tight-handed, frustrated sometimes.
Exactly. And I think I also totally share those. So I'm going to show you this little cartoon. Finally, the fourth ape. He is the sum of the first 3. He sees nobody, hears nobody, and speaks to nobody. Right. So we're all in the same boat. Now, all that you've written are the issues or are the current challenges that parents, experts, and teachers are all facing. So what I like to do is we already did that. So what I like to do is share some sort of basic issues that we all face Thank you for loving that picture. If you need the PowerPoint presentation, I'll be very happy to share. So here are some of the issues that you all wrote already. So you guys know all this. In fact, you've read about it probably. It's general knowledge. The first issue is psychological risks, the fourth ape. Doesn't hear, doesn't think, doesn't look. There's a lack of social interaction and engagement within family and peers. Screens, unfortunately, have an addictive capacity. It's like sugar. Sugar is nice to have to a certain extent, and then suddenly it turns unhelpful. The second issue is language delays. This is something that's been proven now and seen amongst experts, that small children, let's say early childhoods from 0 to about 4 or 5, when they start really developing the language, have language delays. So there are because there are fewer vocalizations and less babbling from infants. They're always on their screen. And you know what they really do well? They swift. They know this. They know how to do this. And they know how to do that. But with their fingers, they don't learn anything else than doing those two things, including languages. Because a screen, when you look at a screen, you don't have facial expressions. And children learn from your facial expressions. The third issue is physical health. And I think when we talk about too much screen time affects children, I think we can also sort of honestly admit that it's the same thing for us adults. When we're in front of a screen and sitting all day, how much movement do we do? How much exercises do we do? There's also impediments with life skills. Children are experiencing an inability to tie shoes because they're just swiping all day and pushing. A swim, ride a bike, or build blocks when exposed to too much screen time. This is about early childhood as well, from 0 to about 5. There's also, for older kids, advertising concern. I think we've been worried about cyberbullying, or all these marketing stuff that's happening and shared so intensively between teenagers and children. So on TV, there are food-related advertisements that lead to more snacking, higher rates of being overweight in young children. And last but not least, it's poor sleep quality. I think some of you mentioned that as well. Children have decreased quality and quantity of sleep, resulting in increased behavioral concerns at home and at schools. So these are real issues. They're there. And the good news is that there are solutions. Like all things new, we just need to understand and tell when it's helpful and when it becomes unhelpful. So let's go to the next slide, which is going to make you maybe happier. Let's think of all the benefits of technology. What are the benefits? We do have benefits. I mentioned a few before starting to Ali. So let's, if you would all, I'd like to invite you to write the benefits on your chat box, and we can all read them together. Yep.
Info, the world is in the palm of your hands. You can learn a second language. We are all connected, learning together, engaging. It's fun. We are open to other cultures and going places we never thought of. And again, look to the technology now. We are all connected in this webinar. You can get more information, widening your brain.
Yes, absolutely. So how does it feel to read all these positive parts? How does it feel? What do you think? What are you thinking when you read all these positive aspects, the benefits of technology?
It's good. It sounds like wow, you know, it's nice. It gives hope. We're happy to be in this era with all this technology around us.
Yeah. I'm
keeping an eye on Facebook if someone is interacting as well.
Ali is like a chameleon. He's got eyes here and he's got eyes there.
we can live it without it. There is. It brings confidence. Technology is our word now. It's good when it's limited. Awareness. So all these are words from our attendees.
Yes, absolutely. So this is what I wrote, but of course, all of what you've written is also what I share with you. So it reduces human effort. It does. simplifies communication. By the way, one of the biggest wow for me in technology was GPS, you know, the ones which show you how to go somewhere in the car. I think that avoided for us a divorce, to be honest, because I'm lousy at reading maps. So when we were in the car, I used to fight with my husband. No, you have to turn left. No, you have to turn right. And your map is upside down. And I'm hopeless. And I think since GPS has been used between us, you know, it's really saved us a lot of fights. So yes, it does reduce human effort, simplifies communication, simplifies mobility, increases productivity, quick access to educational information. I think you mentioned that as well. Access to information on health, social, intellectual, and so forth, gives freedom as well, and can be dangerous, absolutely. So you see, like all things, there's always a helpful and an unhelpful limit. I always sort of put a parallel between sugar or anything new that comes to our lives. It's we have it because it's helpful, but then at what point does it become unhelpful? So I'll let you think about that a little bit. So again, feelings, thinking, deciding, and learning.
I like we're following the same pattern from previous session and how there is connection with the reflection. And I always say as a like trainer in my workshops with the teachers, reflections are very important. And we learn more from reflecting on our experiences than the experience itself.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll let you just for 1 minute, with this exercise we did, activity called the 2 lists, just think of what you were feeling whilst we were doing the 2 lists, what you were thinking when you were writing or reading other people chatting. What did you decide and what did you learn? And I'll let you share that on the chat box.
So Jude, it's a shared experience. We are all in the same boat. I felt happy. It gives courage. And I'm going to take a screenshot of this.
Please do.
I'm liking it.
Gives courage, absolutely. We have solutions. I mean, technology is new, and I'm going to show you also how we can find solutions because we're all going to do it together.
And
now,
I feel I'm standing, sorry, I feel I'm standing on a solid ground, that nothing is totally bad or completely good.
Yeah, and that's life. We're talking about polarity. In life, everything has a yin and it's a yin and a yang, a positive and a negative. Life is about keeping balance between those 2 factors. When is it useful? And when does it become unuseful? And if you can find that balance, it's okay. Everything is okay. And in life, and in fact, that's for us as well as parents, right? So I'm going to ask you another question, and I'll let you think about this and share on your chat. What do children need from us adults to go from challenges to benefits? That's a difficult question, isn't it?
It's a difficult one, yes.
I'll let you think about it. And if you have some ideas, please share.
Okay, so the sharing started and it's a fast one. Our friend Jyoti said the proper guidelines, we need to be the example, we need to be the role model, and then role modeling is coming several times in my chat. And I want to remind you, please, in that chat, put all panelists and attendees, tous les conférenciers et les participants, so everyone can read your reflection and then we can learn from each other. Mm-hmm. Well, so the key word that came many times is being the role model, develop agreements with the children, scaffold and guide. We need to model how to keep a balance in life. So these are the different ideas from our attendees.
Yes, very good. I'm very impressed with all the answers, really, because it's true that modeling is one of the key factors in positive discipline. We are the ones who are guides.
Yes. we have putting borders. We should follow the screen time rules too, as children learn from seeing us. So it's
Yeah.
a kind of it's a culture at home.
Yes. So why is it so difficult? If we're what is going wrong if we know that we have to model, be the guide, put agreements, I've read that, putting borders, why is it so difficult? Where are you stuck? It's addictive.
Because it's addictive, and then Anum just shared that we need to provide alternative to the children to move from the challenges to the benefits. Um, and I would say it's not just addictive, but it needs also a routine, a very clear routine, and you need to stick to this routine. Um, as we are drained, and sometimes we are fascinated by technology charm,
Yeah.
we get used to it. So
Yep. Are you, as adults, managing screen time adequately? Trying, thank you. I'm
so
trying
and
to.
you're getting all the no, and then some smiley face, Izumi. I would like to pick a comment
Sorry,
from
it's not to
Shakira.
feel you guilty,
Yeah,
but we have to face our facts, right?
Shakira, for regarding the previous question on Facebook, she said providing interesting alternatives like outdoor activity, crafts activity, and again, the chat is continuing now with the no that we're not able as adults also to find this balance.
Yeah. How many of you have been binge watching series? And it's 2 o'clock in the morning suddenly, and you think, oh, I have to work tomorrow.
So
Yeah.
it's about balance and self-control,
Yay!
and then go the yes, it's me.
Absolutely.
I feel guilty.
Yeah. So do I. I've been watching a series yesterday, and I think, oh God, it's already 12. It's not easy because it is entertaining. It's made to be entertaining. It's made to be addictive as well. I don't know how many of you have watched this documentary called The Social Dilemma, and I put it as a link for you to go and look at it at the end as some resources. It's pretty amazing. All
Yes,
Facebook,
I
TikTok,
watched it recently.
it's made to be addictive and entertaining, obviously, because otherwise nobody will use it, right? Yeah. So it's made that way. For children, it's the same thing. The issue with children is that they're not as self-regulated as we are. So we have to teach the wisdom that we have and the tools of self-regulation to the children. And children will not learn automatically. We have to show them and guide them. I'll give you an example that Jane Nelson shared recently. If you were in front of a 3-year-old who loves chocolate and you have a bowl of chocolate, will you give the bowl to the child and say, okay, eat it whenever, just eat 2, but not more? Would you do that to the child? I'm not sure. You would just give maybe one chocolate, say, okay, here it goes 1, and you will have another one afterwards. But you're not going to leave the bowl, right, in front of the 3-year-old. Because the 3-year-old has no notions of self-regulation. We, as adults, have that responsibility. And thus, some framework or some agreements is really important. So let's go a little bit into that. Guidelines and agreements. I'm glad that some people mentioned that because that's exactly it. What do you want or need for respectful and healthy usage of technology, family, friends, and on the street? I'm also mentioning on the street because the other day I was driving and I almost ran over a teenager who was so absorbed on his iPhone that he didn't look nor left nor right before crossing the road. It gave me such a fright. And I have a teenager, so.
I'm seeing people attending workshops and meetings while they are driving this day as well, Izumi.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the biggest issues is not going to be alcohol, but it's going to be screens whilst driving, probably. Reading your Facebook or whatever. And there's been a few accidents in Switzerland already, and they're thinking about consequences. So I'm going to show you maybe how to do this, because agreements is great. We all know maybe how to do that, but I'd like to show you how we do it in a positive, disciplined way. So I'd like you to brainstorm. Let's pretend we're a family. And some of you can be children, some of you can role play as a child, and some of you can be adults. And let's brainstorm solutions. So if you're in a family of 4 people, you're going to say, okay, if I play the adult, I'm going to say, okay, you know what? I've recently noticed that we're all far too long on the screens. And I noticed that I'm tired, you're tired, we're all grumpy, the garbage is not taken out, the dog is not walked, the lawn is not mown. There's a little bit of an issue there. So how about making guidelines and agreements together, and let's brainstorm. So I'm going to ask you to put some ideas of what do we want or need in our family for respectful and healthy use of technology. What would you like to have? I'll let you think about it for a minute.
It's not an easy question as
Nope,
well.
it's not.
Yes, let's give them time to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So first idea, limit screen usage to specific hours.
Okay, so
Using
let's
a
take that.
timer to
Yeah. Sorry, I know there's going to be a lot, but let's take the first one. Let's limit screen time. Okay, so I'm going to put that on the board. I hope everybody can read that.
Yes.
Let's limit screen time. And okay, so when we say limit screen time, let's be more precise. How are we going to limit screen time? Where and when? I should have been more precise.
And you make it difficult for me to
Yes, I know.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
Okay, so we're at home.
Okay, where at home and when?
When during family gatherings.
Okay, what is family gatherings? What time or what day would it be? I'm being very precise because that's the issue. When we make agreements, we have to make it really specific.
So they've put like no screen time 2 hours before sleep.
Okay, 2 hours before sleep. Okay.
And then the family gathering, it was connected to the weekend.
Weekends, okay. Let's have some crazy ideas from kids. What would a kid, if you had a screenager at home, what would they say? Because I can see that a lot of this is coming from parents.
Yes, and then I have a fun one like fasting, technology fasting from Facebook. Nice.
Okay, and when you say technology fasting, again, when and where?
So Shakira, add your details, when and where for the technology fasting.
When and where?
I like how you're pushing the thinking of our attendees, Izumi, to come up with this kind of routine. Arshana, she's talking now about her son. My son always says, let me spend equal time in the ground as well as on my iPad.
On the ground, sorry, did I hear you correctly? On the ground?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and what does that mean exactly? When you say it in time frame, equal.
Okay, so the playground, so equal time
playground.
Of the playground and the iPad. Like there was a mistake in that chat.
Okay, okay. Another idea from kids? What would screenagers say?
Maybe we need to ask them if they are watching.
Isn't that interesting? We don't know what the children want, right? If we don't know what children want, how are we going to put agreements or how are we going to put a frame on it? Yep, Soha says, I like to talk to my friends anytime when I want. Okay, so how is that? Let's put it down. Talk to friends whenever. Okay, anything else from children? If I finish my homework, okay, homework first, and then screen, okay? That's specific. The kids are specific, huh? It's getting really specific. They want to play together even in online games. So what would you like or what would you need to Arshana? Any other things children might say?
So I'm checking on Facebook, and then Suzanne mentioned, give me something else to do, my son said.
Okay, that's
so her son said, give me something else to do. So provide, yes.
Something else to do. That's from a child, right? Very good. That's what my son told me one day, in fact. Okay, so I don't know whether you can see everything that I've written here. I'm going to, put it that way. So for the people who just sort of shared whatever you said, and for the ones I managed to note down, I can't note everybody down, so I apologize for the ones who shared. It's there in the chat box, and I'm reading them, but we're not going to put, for time's sake, I'm just going to limit to this. How did you feel, and what do you think whilst I was writing? Because normally I should be writing all of your suggestions, all of them. How did you feel?
But again, I think we modeled the idea, Izumi. They got how we are going to pick each idea and then go into the details of the when, the where. And Shakira is still adding some ideas about having a screen day free. And then in this screen day, we are just relaxed. We don't need to reply on the spot to our WhatsApp or email or message or messenger and so on and so on. And life doesn't require immediate responses.
Yes, that's right. So let's take each one of them and let's go through them. Let's say that we've all finished brainstorming some solutions together. By the way, when I wrote them down, I asked the question when and where, but did I comment on anything? If there was a crazy idea in here, I would have written it down. For instance, here, talk to friends whenever. I wrote it down, right? So note that, it's important. So it's really important that you note every suggestions. Even if you don't agree with them, note them down, especially for the ones coming from children. What I would also suggest for you is to write down their ideas first. Even if it takes a little more time, let them think about it. Write them down and then write your ideas as adults. So let's go through them and see if these ideas are useful. And the way to check on that,
say, Izumi, that in a brainstorming, yes, we take all the ideas. There is no right and no wrong. And now it's the following step where we will start refining our thinking. So let's continue together.
That's right. No judgment, no discussion. You just write it all down. Thank you, Ali, for being precise on that. So the way to check on them is to use the 3 R's and H. So our limit screen time, family gatherings 2 hours before sleep. Is that reasonable, realistic, respectful, and helpful? And some of you might say, some kids might say, no, that's too long. So then you can start talking about it. Okay, if 2 hours is too long for you, what would be acceptable for you? What would be realistic? Is 2 hours too long or too short for some of you?
Do you want some answers from the chat?
It doesn't matter. I think what's important is that they think about it.
You're modeling the thinking. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Technology fasting. There, I would ask the question.
This is for you. Technology fasting. Is it reasonable, realistic, respectful, and helpful?
Yeah, and I'll let you think about it again. You don't have to give me an answer, but it's a question.
True.
And again, when and where? What does it involve? Equal playground to iPad time. Is that reasonable, realistic, respectful, and helpful? Talk to friends whenever I want. Is that reasonable, realistic, respectful, and helpful? Homework first and screen time, and so on. And you vote within, children can express what their thoughts are and continue talking about it and find something, an idea which could work, and choose one. So I'm going to ask you now, if within the coming week, there's some really good ideas here. Thank you so much for sharing. What can we try for 1 week? Let's try it, because these are new guidelines, new agreements. We need to practice. Which one would you like to try for 1 week? And that, when I say try, it's all of us. So of course, if it's about equal playground to iPad, that's equal playtime for you and screen time, but doing something else for adults. So I'll let you choose one. Who would like to choose one? If the first one who puts it on the chat, I'll choose it.
I have an interesting question from Shaima. And Shaima, can we help children to reach these 3 R's? Because sometimes they might need help with realistic, for example.
Yes, depending on the age group. So how would you ask that question? How would you check whether it's realistic? What does realistic mean? In fact, this is what I'm doing. When I'm asking you, choose one that you want to try for a week. Because maybe some of them are not realistic, right?
And so I got my, yes, the participants agreed on working on no screen time 2 hours before bedtime.
Okay, so let's pretend that we have this, we've decided that we're going to try this for 1 week. Okay, so when you come back after 1 week, you've tried it, maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it does. Maybe it worked, but not always. And then you can refine it. And this is how you work on agreements. A first agreement is only a first agreement. Whoever has found first agreements to work, has anybody had first agreements to work in families or at work or at school? No, usually they don't, because when we make agreements, new agreements, it's something people may have not tried, not everybody at least. Maybe you who suggested it's been taken, but not for everybody. So this is the first way to check whether you're realistic or not, whether it's applicable or not, whether it's helpful or not. Yeah? Any questions on that? I can see, yep.
We can see that we love the idea of reflecting on agreements and go back to them constantly.
Yes.
Constantly.
Yeah. Agreements is not something you as a parent or adult is going to write down. Say, okay, guys, we've decided that we're going to limit screens, and before going to bed 2 hours, no more. You can't. You won't get the cooperation there, because if I ask you, how did you feel when we created these agreements together? How did it feel? What do you think? Did you feel demotivated? Did you feel as if I was giving orders? Or did you feel, okay, we can try? So I felt giving orders. Okay, so what was missing if you felt I was giving orders? Yeah, so you're thinking as a child, Soha, right? Okay, because of the way it was said. Okay?
Yeah. Isra mentioned that she felt respected. 50 years old, by the way. Yeah, but we're talking, Soha, about if you are mentioning the child perspective in the chat. Al-Shaima, she's saying, coming from me feels that I want to try my idea and make it work. Al-Shaima, make sure you're choosing all panelists and attendees. Same for Soha, so everyone can read your reflections.
So Soha, for you, you didn't feel involved in it? It was because I didn't write what you wanted, what your suggestion would be? What would you change to make it more inclusive for you? Okay, got it. Yes, not involved. That's exactly a good point. Thank you for sharing that. This is a role play, and role plays are very powerful because when you don't feel that you're not included, you feel less encouraged to participate. And this is exactly why when you brainstorm with your children in your class or whatever solutions you want to find for a situation, it's very important that you write all the ideas down. And then you go through them with the 3 R's and H, but it's not for the adult to choose whether it's respectful. It's for everybody to discuss around it. I don't know whether that was clear enough. Okay. And remember, you're the adult. You have to share your wisdom. You're the guide. You're the model for the child. Remember the bowl of chocolates? The children don't have self-regulation capacities. Even us, we have difficulties sometimes when we're in front of a good series with a cliffhanger after every single episode, right? So imagine how it is for children. It's even more difficult. So I would really love to encourage you to try to construct or to create these guidelines and agreements together with your family. And if it doesn't work the first time, it doesn't matter. Come back and talk about it and do it the same way. Okay, what do we need to change here? What didn't work? What could work? Or choose another idea. Okay, well, this was so and so. Maybe we can change certain things. What can we try the week after? And so forth. Okay. So any reflections for you to share? What did you feel? What are you thinking? What did you decide? And what did you learn?
So from this brainstorming and all these ideas and steps that we tried together now, what would you like to share? A moment of reflection. What are the takeaway, the learning? Let's see, I'm going to Facebook. Suzanne is mentioning the whole idea of the screen time will depend on the age of the student or the child, right, Izumi?
Yes.
Okay, so Al-Shaima, she said it's very practical. I actually want to try it on myself. Yes, it gives you feasible solution from Jude.
Okay. And it's always practice. It's
Yes,
success
and I
is not
think
depending.
yes, the idea of doing it in a group and this collaboration brings different perspectives, and you don't feel that you are alone, and then you have the support coming from others. Yeah.
And you'd be surprised because I did this with my family, my husband, the two screenagers, my husband and my son, and some of the very good ideas came from my son.
Yeah, Iman is saying giving the child the choice.
Yes. Thank you. Great. So,
Good.
so the next question,
We
some
still
of you.
have just 15 minutes to give you an idea about the
Yep.
time, Izumi.
I have one more activity for you.
Yes.
Let's imagine, that of course, after the first agreement, well, it doesn't work. You see your child still
This is
hooked.
what Arshana, she said, we tried it at home, it didn't work, so now I want to try it again.
Okay, so let's imagine, because of course, it's changing habits is difficult, and we're into changing habits. Like no more sugar in your coffee. It's not easy at the beginning. The coffee, the taste is disgusting, and then you get used to it, right? So it's the same thing with screens. It's a change of habit. It's not easy. The first agreements won't always work. So I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes and imagine you're a child, and you can be the age that you want. And you're either screaming, I want to play with my iPad. I want to play with my iPad, if he's 4 or 5. Or you're a teenager on a game and saying, it's really exciting now. It's just a little longer. It's almost finished. 5 more minutes. Or you're watching, somebody is watching TV and it's late and hasn't done the homework yet, right? Some of you mentioned that as a challenge. Or a child is constantly looking at his or her iPhone at the dinner table. And the agreement was that there was no screens at dinner, for instance. Or fighting with a sibling to have the remote control for a game. So put yourself in one of those situations, close your eyes, get into that emotion. And I'm going to do 2 role plays. I'm going to be telling you some phrases. I'm going to tell you 6 different phrases. There's going to be a first part and a second part. And I'd just like you to keep attention on how it feels, what you're thinking, what you're deciding when I'm reading the first part. And then we'll do it again as the second part. Right. So I'm going to let you go into the child's role. Imagine you're really hooked on something, technology. Oh, I'm really fed up now. How many times do I have to tell you you've played it long enough? That's it. Turn it off now and go to get ready for bed right now. Okay. Note down what your feelings are, what you're thinking, and what you're deciding. Stop playing. You're way over time. That's it. Now you're going to your room and it's confiscated for a whole week. Oh, you know that too much screen time is really bad for you. How many times did we talk about this and your health? Look at me when I'm speaking to you. Come on, do your homework. if you stop now, you can have a bigger dessert, okay? Okay, that's enough. Give it to your little brother now. You've played at it and you're the eldest, so stop fighting. Okay. So, how are you feeling, thinking, deciding? What are you feeling, thinking, and deciding? And as well, learning.
Do you want me to read aloud these feelings, Izumi?
Yes, please.
So I feel controlled, commanded. Oh God, Mama is not allowing me for last 5 minutes. Why don't you understand me? Angry, confused, too much talking, demanding. You don't leave me alone. And I feel like nobody knows how much I want to play.
Yeah. So you can imagine why some children are not collaborating nor cooperating after all this. But this is the kind of thing I've been saying as well.
So as a child, I feel they don't care about my needs. I'm thinking how to conceive, oh, this is fast, how to conceive her to get what I want and decide I will not obey. All my friends are playing for a long time. No one let me be happy. All my friends are online and so on and so on.
Okay, so clearly you've decided not to cooperate, right? I can hear that there's no cooperation coming in there, right? Bad news. The good news is that there's a second part. So let's see how different it is for you. Now, there's no right or wrong answers, by the way. I'd like to tell you that we're all different. We all feel and we all live different lives. So whatever you write is real for you. So don't feel, you don't have to, nobody's the same. So we'll all feel things differently.
Yeah.
So role play number 2, let's go now. So we'll go back into the child's world. You're hooked on technology. You have homework to do, or you have chores to do, or you're fighting with your brother to get the remote control, and so forth. Okay. Take a deep breath, go back into that world, and then I'm going to tell you phrases. Darling, I love you, and the answer is no. Come and sit here, and I can maybe read a book for you. Remember, we bought a new book. I know you would rather play than do your chores, and it's time to do it now. Which task do you want to do first? Remember, setting the table or cooking with me? I understand it's important for you to stay connected with your friends, and it's dinner time in 10 minutes. Can you come and help me right now? Or shall I put up the time timer on? Remember the time timer we got for you? I know you would rather play games than do your homework, and homework needs to be done first. So what are your plans for getting it done tonight? I noticed that you did not turn your phone off for dinner, and it's time to eat. Okay, let's all turn our phones up and put it in the basket. What can you and your brother do to solve this problem about TV remote control? Okay. How did you feel? What do you think this time, and what do you decide?
Mom loves me, less demanding, I'm involved. The rule is applied on all of us. I felt like I had a choice. I'm involved in the decision.
Okay.
I want to play, but I still need to do different tasks, so I have to finish them first. I like the idea of asking me about my plans because it's actually helped me with me prioritizing. This way, I will make relationship between the parents and the child much better and calmer. It doesn't mean that they will agree. Yeah,
that's right.
It's not so difficult to give up on screen time.
Yeah.
Choice is given.
Yeah. See the difference?
So I have two Jyoti watching. Hopefully I'm spelling the name correctly. One on Facebook and one on Zoom.
So I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. I used a concept called kind and firm at the same time. The first phrase was validating feelings. And now in the concept of kind and firm, we're kind and firm at the same time. So the magic word is and. So the first part is being kind. That means you connect with the child first. You go into the child's world and you understand that it's difficult to hook up. And if it's difficult for you to understand that, think of when you've been hooked on a binge series and it's been 2 o'clock in the morning and there's still another cliffhanger and you have to shut the TV off or the screen off. Same thing. It's not easy. So validate feelings and say what needs to be done. Another way is to show understanding. I understand it's hard to stop playing. I know that. And the chores have to be done. So do you want to do it now or do you want to do it later? Find a solution. Give a choice to the child so they can choose or ask a question. Empathize, same thing, show understanding, that's a bit the same thing, and set the limit. Somebody mentioned it, put everyone on the same boat. And let's do it all together. Let's practice. And finally, this is another positive discipline tool, which is called asking instead of telling. And you do the kind and firm. Yes, you can ask for help as well. Help me do the chores. Why don't you come and help me set the table?
I have a comment from Susan saying, and what if they refuse?
Mm-hmm.
I would like just to say that here you're not telling them to do and to stop to refuse. Here you're asking them questions, so they are obliged to answer your question. Right, Izumi? So
Yes.
the different approach will lead to a different reaction from the child.
Yes. I'm asking all the time. I'm being kind and firm and asking. That means that they have to come up with a solution. When children feel they're listened to, they will listen to you. And this is all about being kind and firm. And Jane Nelson uses the term connect before correct. You need to connect with a child first so that they listen to you, and then you can correct, which is the firm part. Hey, that's been 2 hours, you're on your screen time, you're over your time. Shall I put it off for you, or do you want to put it off yourself? It's much more empowering for children, and it's the same thing for adults, by the way. I don't know whether you're I sort of always put it between me and my husband. When he tells me to do something, the first thing I say is no. When it's been, it's like, let me do it the way I want it. Or when he gives me advices as well. It's the same thing with kids. And again, it's about practice. So to your question before, what do you do when they say no? What could you do? Some ideas on that. To keep connected, not to go into a power struggle, but keep connected. What can you do if the child says no? I don't. They would say no. I've seen children. They all say no. We also said no. I love you, and it's no for the iPad. Let's go and do something else. Let's go and read another book. Yes, ask them why not. Or what is your solution then? Do you remember the agreements we made before? We agreed that screen time is limited to 2 hours before bedtime. We cut it off. So you see, we're going back to the agreements. Yeah. So I'm looking at the time now. Final reflection from you.
Yeah. And so while they are thinking about the final reflection, let me share my screen, Izumi, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
So what are your takeaways from the session today? And then I'm going to share my screen to tell you that this is our YouTube channel, and then the sessions are already, they started showing here on YouTube. You can subscribe and watch the session again. You can go on our website. We still have 2 more sessions for this afternoon, one in Arabic with Nuha, and one where we are going to have a panel discussion with Dr. Jane. And then we have plenty of other workshops related to positive discipline or related to other subjects on the website. And then from the website as well, you can order a certificate. This is how you can support us. It's a very it's not a very expensive thing, so it's €5 to get a certificate, and this will help us to continue offering this special day and get those special speakers. So some of the feedbacks and the reflection and some of the question, we're going to answer them now. Isra is saying the session is really informative. When the children, they have the right to discuss, they will stand responsible. And what else would we like to share with them? Izumi.
Yes, well, I like to add one more difficulty, because we're adults, right? So we're a bit more, and we're the example, if I remember correctly. I don't know how many of you know about the SMART goals.
Yeah.
Whenever we put a goal to ourselves, I think it's quite important to say what you want to do or write it down. How will you know when you've reached it? Be measurable. Is it in your power to accomplish it? Because sometimes we put these huge objectives and then we can't do it, and then we get disappointed and discouraged. Same with children. Is it achievable? Is it realistic? Can we really stop having screens for a whole week? Or will we not have that as a realistic goal? And timely, when are we going to do it? For what? And at what place? And finally, I'd like to share with you another positive discipline concept. Baby steps. This is my son's shoes when he was, I don't know, about 2.
Do they travel with you when you go for face-to-face workshop?
I have another one.
Because sometimes we like to take our things as workshop leaders, yeah?
Exactly. So don't forget to take baby steps, achievable, smart objectives, so that it's encouraging for everybody, and it's more important to do it that way than putting huge objectives. You won't be an Olympic champion in 2 days, same thing. When you're trying something new and you're changing habits, it won't happen overnight. You have to practice. And success is not on the results only, but it's on the process. So good luck to everybody. Thank you.
So if you are going to continue with us, let's continue, Izumi. So some suggestion, what do you have in this final slide?
Yeah, this is just some suggestions for what you can do as goals. And of course, after each sentence, you can put a time to make it smart, right? You can take a screenshot if you want. And these are some resources. You can also take a screenshot on some of the very interesting articles on cyberbullying, which is also, of course, an issue. Oh, sorry, I've been a bit too long. And I would really highly recommend to see The Social Dilemma. It's very powerful. This is not for small children. It's from as of age 6 or 7, I'd say, but it's something really worth watching. And there are apps like Time Timer, which does limit your screen time, or does show you how much time you've been on your screens, moment cut screen time, and so forth. And thank you for Generations for Education.
Thank you, Izumi. Thank you for all the speakers today who joined us. We still have 2 more sessions. I'm going to take a break now for 15 minutes. Denise, the session is recorded, so you can see it again on YouTube. Voila. So see you in 15 minutes in an Arabic session. Sorry, see you in half an hour in an Arabic session, and then around 2 hours for our last session for the day in English, a panel discussion about positive discipline with Dr. Jane Nelson and great educators from all around the planet. I know Izumi and maybe Philip will be also joining us, so to have a very rich discussion and connection in the last session of the day. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Good luck.
In touch.
Happy end of the year. Keep well, keep safe. Bye-bye.